Free agency rumors are already starting to pick up as multiple new reports have dropped, revealing a surprising target surrounding the Toronto Maple Leafs. We're going to break down exactly who that is, as well as discuss a huge update as it pertains to Mitch Marner and his future in Toronto. A ton to go over today, and a lot of this has fans very intrigued. You're going to break all it down in this episode, but before we get into it, if you're a part of the 71% who aren't subscribed to the channel, this is the place to be for daily Leafs content. Your guys' support has been unbelievable, so thank you guys for that as we're on the road to 21,000 subscribers. There's a lot to go over today, and obviously, this has been a very busy past few days. We're still waiting to hear from Brad Treliving as of the time of recording, and a bunch of things are coming out, and there's been one report lately that has fans, I would say, either fired up on the negative side. Some people are excited about it. And that is, of course, Mitch Marner, but also one free agent, which we'll dive into in a minute here. And that is Sam Bennett. If Mitch Marner indeed walks in free agency, Luke Fox reports that the Leafs are expected to be one of a long list of teams who will take a run at the Panthers forward and Ontario-born native Sam Bennett. So this one is interesting because obviously we know that there's been a bunch of rumors. I mean, Sam Bennett was the one who injured Anthony Stolarz. There's some, interesting things there, but it seems now more than ever that Mitch Marner is not going to be a Toronto Maple Leaf next year, and they have to replace him with somebody. And fans are very split about this move in particular. But all we know for sure is Sam Bennett definitely is a playoff performer and is someone that I think the Leafs are definitely, according to these reports, going to take a run at.
Yeah, playoff performer, and I think that's what the Leafs need more of. I mean, we've taken a look at Brock Besser as well. He performs in the playoffs. He's probably going to get a very significant contract, so maybe that's not the guy the Leafs go after. But it's sounding like Sam Bennett is also going to get a significant contract. Sounds like there's like half the league is interested at this point, and apparently we'll get into it. One team is willing to offer him $10 million. I don't think it's the Leafs, but whoever that team is, I mean, 10 million for Sam Bennett is a little crazy. But I get it. I get it. He's a playoff performer, right? He hides his punches. Obviously taking out Stolarz, he took out Nyes a couple years ago. He takes out other players. This is not just about the Leafs, right? But he's a playoff performer and he scores goals. He drives the net. He's hard to play against. And those are guys that the Leafs need to fill this roster with. Maybe not fill the roster with, but they need more guys like that and that mentality to rub off on some of the other guys on the roster. So Sam Bennett would be great, but it has to come at the right dollar amount. You can't, I mean, free agency, you're always going to overpay guys. The cap's going up. It'll look better in a couple of years, but you have to really consider this and what he brings to the lineup because he had a pretty decent year and he's had some decent years, obviously, in Florida, but he's a playoff performer. If you can get to the playoffs, this is a guy that I think can obviously help you win with his physicality and, of course, just the way he plays. It's not just the physicality and the stuff between the whistles and all that. It's the way he plays. He drives play, he drives to the net, and he scores. He quite literally scores. He scored a few goals against the Leafs. So I think that it would be obviously a great fit, right? Especially if Marner walks, you're going to have to fill out the lineup, right? But it just depends on what he's going to get. You can see some of the projections there. Again, they're just projections, but to give us like a decent idea of what he's going to get. But depending if Florida wins the cup again this year, coming up soon, he could be getting paid a lot. If there's one team that already wants to offer him 10 million, this could get pretty out of control quick.
Yeah, stat-wise, you can see the top last year, 51 games, or 51 points starting in 76 games. He's only 29 years old. Sometimes people think he's older. He's only 29. He's in his prime. Now, I think he's a great fit as well. You look at the projection by length. I think he's going to get a lot more than the most likely outcome of 6.5 million. People are, like you mentioned, 10 million. The Panthers are playing fantastic against the Carolina Hurricanes. They ran Frederik Andersen out of the rink, and now he's not even starting. He didn't start in yesterday's game, Frederik Andersen. So, the Panthers are playing such good hockey that they either that'll make Sam Bennett, I mean, both could happen, get paid a lot more, but also they might want to retain him more now because they could go on perennial runs for cups, and he's been absolutely crucial towards that. But there's also this side of it. And Darren Dreger dropped a report. I'm not convinced that Sam Bennett wants to play for the Toronto Maple Leafs, and it's not because of the noise in this market. I'm not saying that. It's just that he's going to have a lot of options. If he hits free agency, 20-plus teams could be interested in how he plays, how he can adapt to any style. So this was like an interesting report because it seems like an opinion piece paired with a report. He says he's not convinced that Sam Bennett wants to play with the Leafs, but because there's other teams involved. I'm very curious to see what you guys, and let us know down below right now in the comment section. Do you want to see Sam Bennett on the team? And I think if you could get him for $7-8 million a year, it's a fantastic replacement for Mitch Marner. When you start to venture into the $10 million a year, it might be hard to convince yourself that it's worth spending that much money on a guy like Bennett. But in the same vein, he performs in the playoffs, which is something the Leafs desperately need. And whether you hate or like the player, I'm not a huge fan of him, at least his on-ice antics, and we've both been clear about that. He is ironically exactly what the Leafs need. Honestly, the Panthers have a lot of players that are very similar to what the Leafs need, whether it be Brad Marchand, a bit older, Sam Bennett. So It's going to be interesting, but if you're on the side of you don't want him, the good news is Darren Dreger thinks that there's a good chance that he won't even entertain, not necessarily entertain, but he won't want to come to Toronto because of the other options he has. But I'm not sure out of those other 20 plus teams who would actually be willing to fork up the money that the Leafs, if they really want the guy, would go out and get, especially with the money coming off of the books from Mitch Marner, assuming that he leaves.
We also have to keep in mind that, who are these 10 or 15 other teams? Are they contenders, right? Or are they teams that are in the middle of the pack, right? Like he's going to have to consider everything. And again, his agent, keep in mind, is Darren Ferris, the same agent as Mitch Marner, and he loves to walk his clients to free agency. So we have to keep in mind that, depending on who the teams are, I'm not saying he's going to leave money on the table, but maybe he wants to play for a contender, right? Like he's going to be 30 years old. I don't think he wants to go to a rebuilding team or a team that's in the middle of the pack. He probably wants to go to a contender and still contend for a Stanley Cup. And if this was a couple of years ago, I would say it wouldn't make sense for the Leafs to go out and get Sam Bennett. But with their new play style and the fact that Craig Berube wants them to execute a certain way, and some guys haven't been executing that, I feel like he would play into that perfectly. Look what Florida's doing. They play a simple game and they might win the Stanley Cup again, right? So I think that if he came in with this, style that they're trying to execute on right now, he would fit in with this team. So they need a winning mentality as well, which is what he brings. Obviously, the last couple of years going to Stanley Cup finals, so it could be interesting. But again, it depends who these teams are. Obviously, things are going to heat up as the season ends. The Stanley Cup is awarded, and we head into the draft and free agency, and we'll probably get a better idea. But I don't think this, should make people think that he isn't going to sign with the Maple Leafs, right? Like he could still sign with the Maple Leafs. I'm sure he wants to play with a contender. It just matters on the dollar amount. If there's another team that's going to offer him $10 million, he will probably take that offer over, signing with the Leafs for $6 million or something closer to what he's making now. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. There isn't any projections besides what people have out there right now. Like no insiders are really saying this is what he could make, which I think is interesting. But besides the 10 million, which is crazy, but I think he would absolutely help this team. But it has to be. It's the same thing as John Tavares. It has to be at the right dollar amount. Don't get into the habit of what the Leafs used to do. Just this guy might help. Throw $10 million at him. Let's not do that.
Yeah, and he's coming off of a 4x4, a bit more than that, really. And he's going to want a payday. He'll probably want at least double that. And you look at some of the charts here, a JFresh chart, a very good offensive player. He's okay defensively. He's good in the power play. He's just a really good, goal scorer, a guy who could help the Leafs in the playoffs. I mean, they need, and he's also, of course, like you mentioned, he fits Craig Berube's play style very, very well. But on the flip side of things, he's a pretty, dirty player as well. So there's also that to consider. If I don't know how much the front office actually consider things like that. But you can see this here as well. And let us quickly before I wrap up, let us know down below where you stand on this. Anyone willing to pay more than $10 million a year for Sam Bennett might be out of their minds. Respect to Bennett's game a lot would be amazing for us, but at that price, especially compared to Mitch Marner, it could be interesting. The big difference between that and Mitch Marner, though, is of course the fact that he actually performs in the playoffs, Sam Bennett, that is. But let us know down below what your thoughts are on this. Would you want Sam Bennett, or do you think it's stupid? It's going to be interesting. A bunch of reports are coming out. What we do know for sure is that the Leafs are going to be pursuing a lot of free agents this offseason. See you guys later.